What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Exchanging Lanes, Season 2. Mr. Brad Snyder, how have you been?
Oh, we're doing good.
The last episode that we did was CPI. This is the CPI, the core CPI that you and I had predicted, as this will be the month of the slowdown, the used car component.
So this week, for the first time in months, I'm going to say that I saw an uncountable number of new cars being delivered on tractor trailers.
An uncountable number.
Yeah.
So you're seeing like hundreds of cars, brand
And
new
so,
cars,
yeah,
everywhere then.
everywhere. Yeah.
Just American cars?
Oh, no. No, I mean, I saw Subarus, a lot of Audis and BMWs.
This is everybody. So this is at the semiconductor production level. Apparently, they got a whole bunch of chips out to the automakers. Now that's extremely interesting because how are you going to sell a 7-year-old BMW when you have actual new car inventory sitting right next to it? You start seeing these like a massive sudden shipment of all kinds of new cars now coming in. That's it for the used car market.
Yeah.
Like the insanity that's been going on. But the prices of the used cars will fall.
Oh, they would, yeah. And they would fall dramatically and quickly, I would imagine.
Yep.
I don't feel overly confident at the moment saying this is it. Like,
Okay. Even if it was a one-off shipment, people seeing that used cars have now come back means people will stop bidding up insanity for used car prices because even if they don't get a new car themselves, that's enough to prick the bubble. Because what makes the bubble continue onwards is that there's no alternative. Now you're introducing an alternative. And so if the psychology of used car chasing, paying ever higher prices for used cars, if that has now changed, used car prices are not going to surge anymore and they may very well start falling. And should that happen, well, you're looking at a third of CPI that just got hit. I mean, if you continue to see that, that's it for used cars. That's it for CPI. And sure enough, we had the used car component slow down. So great job with that. But certainly a lot of things have changed since, or maybe not. So let's find out. So we can and have talked about like an infinite amount of different potential issues or things that might be contrary to what the narrative is or even what the data is. Backwards looking. Data is always backwards looking, by the way. And so we've talked about all these sort of things, but I want to talk about your job itself. And let's call it a crisis. The crisis in employment of truck drivers like yourself, as in the inability to hire, severe need for truck drivers like yourself. So what's going on with that? I guess first just lay out what the problem is.
I mean, the problem is there's just not enough drivers at the moment to, get things where they need to go in the supply chain and get caught up is the short version. The longer version is anything from the age demographic of a truck drivers in their, mid 50s. So they're getting ready to age out. So this problem's not going to get any better unless we figure out a way to get younger drivers in mass.
Well, first let's establish why is it a problem? Maybe not why is it a problem, but why is it especially a problem? Because the rest of America also like cannot hire people to fulfill the roles that they need hired. What makes you so special? Like we all need join the party. We all need people, right?
Yeah.
And what I'm trying to say is no. Well, yes, that may be. However, this particular role, if these jobs are not filled, there will be an increasing and compounding amount of problems that will ripple throughout the economy at every level, right? So this one is different, right? So let's explore why is it different? What's so special about you guys?
The easiest way to say it, and the saying in the industry is if you bought it, a trucker brought it. So,
yeah, I like that. Except I feel like it's not a trucker; it is multiple across.
oh yeah,
Let's just give a quick example. Let's use bottled water. because
That's the
you seem to
popular one.
love or hate this bottled water phenomenon. Let's say I'm in my apartment in New York City. I decide to order a case of Poland Spring bottled water, like 36 pack of that from Amazon, and I just do a buy it now on Amazon and click, and then magically later that day, some poor guy is lugging a very heavy thing of water to my
Oh,
doorstep. Um, and I don't ever think about it because it's water. What went into that in order to get me that water that I am completely not appreciating? And by I don't mean like not appreciating as in like the labor sacrifice of it. I mean like not aware of.
I mean, the bottle itself, that would have, started out as some sort of petroleum product that would have went on a truck or a train or a pipeline to a factory, then got turned into plastic pellets that then got shipped by tractor trailer to another factory to get turned into plastic bottles to get shipped to the bottling plant to get filled with water. That they would have also brought in all the filters, the filtering of that water, and then it's
And
really
water
neat to go to the.
water is pretty heavy too, right?
Oh my god, yeah, it's ridiculously heavy. It's really cool with the water factories to see them bringing in truckloads of salt because like it's so heavily filtered that if you were to drink that, bad things would happen. So they have to like put minerals back into it. Then there's the labeling.
So just to make the bottle itself, there's what like anywhere from 2 to 5 or something like trucks that need to be used to transport something from A to B, then B to C, and C to D.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's say the finished product is made. Okay, finished product is made at the Coca-Cola or the Poland Spring Factory, whatever it is. Now let's look at two scenarios. One is I go to a Walmart, Kmart, a Target, or whatever, and I buy it myself. I put it in the trunk of my car and I bring it home. The other one is the Amazon one, right? But in either situation, to get it to either the Amazon warehouse or the retail, what's that process like? How does it get from completed off of the, assembly line, the water assembly line, to somewhere where I can physically touch it as a retail customer?
Yeah, so they would, stack a whole bunch of those 36 packs of water onto a wooden pallet. So they would have had to make that wooden pallet. We could go through all those steps, but suffice it to say that there's a lot of trucks involved in that to put that on the truck. And then we take that to the distribution center, which would be, your Amazon or whatever other distribution center there is. And then they would break that down and either put it on a different truck to other stores or break it down and put it onto a different truck to your house.
Okay, so the receiving of it on the store end and the receiving of it of me personally at my house is the same one step. There isn't an additional one for in between
Well,
distribution
there's a
center.
different where there would be like different warehouses for that kind of almost. But I mean, no, there would be additional steps between like the Amazon warehouse. Actually, well, I don't know if they would. I guess on Amazon you would use. Yeah, I'm really gonna have to think this one through.
Yeah, that's fine. The fact that you have to think it through means that it's complex. It's not easy.
Yeah, there's a few more
It's not a
steps
simple
involved.
thing. There are more.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's not. You're thinking it through because there are not zero steps involved. So,
yeah.
yeah. The point I wanted to get across was that there are multiple steps, and then moving it from the completed end product at the bottling plant to the first distribution warehouse. How long is that distance? Is that usually local, or is that like cross country? Like if I'm buying water bottles in New York City, either from a New York City Walmart, Kmart, whatever, or ordering it Amazon in New York City, is that coming from like Tennessee, or is that coming from Suffolk County or something in Long Island?
I would say there's probably a good possibility that would be the one coming out of like Allentown.
Okay, so it is not some sort of local ordeal at all.
Yeah,
Yeah, all of that went into just water,
yeah.
just just to get a bottle of water, right? So That's the most basic element, out there, right? Like
Yeah, it's
forget like buying an electronics, like like
oh
a
yeah.
VR set or something. Um, for me to just simplistically just click the order button on the order. Truckers are needed throughout many stages of that in order to make that happen. For water, just for water. So, what happens in a world in which we are not without truckers, without the truckers that are currently being in dire request? What happens if that continues and those jobs are not filled? Does that mean you get slammed more? Like,
I mean, like legally, there's only so much I can work. So,
right, right. That's what I want to
I
get at
mean,
too.
no, yeah, my life doesn't change.
So let's establish two things. So first of all, you as a human truck driver, you are federally prohibited to work over a certain amount of hours per day. You must take a multi-hour break, right?
Oh yeah, yeah,
So you're restricted by that. And then the other
yeah.
thing is, robots have not stolen your job yet. They may, but AI has not taken your job yet. Hence the need for the given AI environment, which very much does exist. The given AI tools and environment that we have, there is this much of a need for human truck drivers. So that also is not some sort of immediate solution for an immediate problem.
Oh, right
Right
now,
now,
today, yeah,
today,
yeah,
that human capital infrastructure
yeah,
needed in
yeah.
place right now.
Today, right now, yeah.
Today, right
There's,
now, yeah.
yeah, we need help.
Okay, so what happens in the next 6 months? What happens going into holidays? If there are no, significant increase in hiring of truck drivers to fulfill what is needed, and assuming that that's not going to happen, what does it look like? What's the impact? Why
So I
should the
do
regular person
know
care, basically? Why should I care?
there's definitely going to be some sort of lag there because under COVID, when they did, the lockdowns in the United States, at least, I can't speak for the rest of the world. Obviously, truck drivers were essential employees. We got to go to work. However, if you ran a CDL training school, you were not essential and they all got shut down and sent home.
CDL
So,
is commercial driver's license?
yeah.
Okay.
So they could not train any new drivers throughout the entirety of the COVID lockdown in the United States. So after the reopening, something like 50% of those training schools had gone under. So we only had 50% reopen, and then they usually take about 3 months to get somebody through. You're looking at a definite bottleneck there that I haven't heard a whole lot of people speak about. So that could be
Well,
another contributing issue.
yeah, I was gonna say like contributing issue. That seems like that to be a huge issue, right? Like
A huge, yeah,
the
because
cause.
you just can't roll out of bed today and be like, wait, Brad said I can go drive a truck and make a bunch of money. Let's go. Yeah, no, no, no. You need to. There's a couple steps you got to do first, but yeah, I mean it's a lot different than a car, and you really got to pay attention because if things go wrong, they go wrong in a hurry, and it's usually pretty ugly.
Right. So tell me what it looks like in come holidays. The back half of the year. I mean, is it just a matter of like, oh, my Amazon Prime is gonna be delayed by a day? Big deal. Is that really all that it is?
Well, I guess getting back to your whole bottled water thing, we're in the holidays right now. We're there. It's happening.
Right now in September, we're in the holidays. Okay, what does that explain that? What does that mean?
Like, if you have little kids in the room, leave the room. Santa Claus isn't real. I'm freaking Santa Claus. So, like, I can't
They're
deliver
way
to
too
everybody's
young and
house.
slim and not bearded enough.
Yeah. Yeah, we can't deliver to everybody's house just instantaneously overnight. So, I mean, yeah, all the goods have been ordered. They are trying to get them shipped on the large container ships and offloaded in ports and to warehouses to be divvied up to go to other warehouses to be divvied up to go to the stores, and we're in it.
So right now, seasonally, this is when all of that takes place in order to have inventory stock on shelves and all that ready for holidays, for holiday consumer spending.
Yeah.
So if you're delayed right now, you can look forward and say you're not going to have robust sales like you might have guided for if you're a retailer or whatever, because you're not going to have the inventory for which to sell these things. Do I have that
Yeah,
correct?
there's yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, just because you ordered it doesn't mean it's gonna be there on time or you're gonna get at least all of it on time at this point. So like I don't know, maybe we'll just make up some numbers. You ordered 1,000 artificial Christmas trees and you might get 500 of them to get on the shelves before Christmas. And
Right.
then what do you do with 500 artificial Christmas trees in February? Well, I don't know.
Make up a holiday attachment to Valentine's Day involving trees. I don't know, but
There you go.
but we're not talking about things that are specific to Christmas,
Right. I mean, there's
like Christmas trees or plastic menorahs for Hanukkah or whatever it may be. We're talking about um, okay, if there is a seasonal expected consumer spending binge that happens from Black Friday onwards, that is dependent on things to spend on items
yeah.
on shelves. And if and so right now we not on track to hit that?
And looking around, I mean, the first big hurdle for us, we're going into Thanksgiving, and the shelves at the grocery stores for the last couple weeks have been not out of things, but you can definitely tell that they have been picked over. So, I mean, it doesn't look like a hurricane's coming, but it does look like it normally does in like the 2 weeks running up to Thanksgiving. So I'm like, well, if it looks like that now, and we're nowhere near Thanksgiving, like if we're gonna shift a bunch of capacity to try to get like that food and shift that away from trying to get whatever people buy each other for Christmas, the supply constraints at this point are just so messed up that I don't know what algorithm you would have to run.
So that's very important what you're saying, because what you're saying is there's a finite amount of resources to transport from whatever it is from A to B, and when that is being used, it's almost zero sum. Something else suffers. So if used for food, it's not there's a deficit somewhere else. That is
Yeah.
being unfulfilled, right? And so we don't know what, but some things plural are going to not be available. That this is what we've talked about this many times before, but like there's going to be an everyday items that we take for granted right now. They're just going to suddenly just disappear, or they're going to cost 10x what they normally do. And this is all because of a lack of human capital to be able to deliver things. The concept of what a truck driver is, in my, I guess, more of like a sort of financial markets way of thinking about it, is there's like velocity of money, right?
Yeah.
It's the velocity of goods, right?
Yeah.
The velocity of money is slows down. That's like the actual money circulating around in the economy that's being spent, and all that kind of thing. And so therefore you could print as much M2 money supply as you want to. If you don't have velocity of money of M2 supply, then you're not going to get inflation and blah 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 blah. And yeah, I don't want to hear about the offshore euro dollar. I'm not talking about that. I don't want to hear about. It's not about that.
Let's
Go
reel
on.
back into the supply chain.
Yeah, it's just an analogy. So that's velocity of money. This is the velocity of goods itself. You need to be able to move things around. Things need to circulate around the economy. Water needs to be transported. Plastic manufacturing, bottle manufacturing needs to be done. All this kind of stuff needs to be done on schedule, done on time, done in quantity, in a harmonious fashion, in order to get bottles of water delivered to my apartment. Just for that alone, that requires the velocity of goods, the velocity of things, the velocity of not money, right? That's kind of how I look at it. Is that an accurate way to look at it, do you think, or is that like
That's an excellent way to look at it. I've never really thought about it being the velocity of goods before, but yeah, that's absolutely what it is.
yeah, you need velocity of goods for velocity of money to happen. People don't just
Yeah.
Venmo each other for and so what if they do? You're not spending it on anything, so right? So you need the things to purchase in order for those things to happen, and in order to purchase those things, you need them available to be purchased, and that is what you do. What you do is the aiding or the demand for the velocity of goods, or the needed velocity of goods. and I can make a very broad statement about that because if there's a slowdown in, I don't know, Scrabble boards, whatever kids play these days, or if there's a sort of a delay in something, that's going to create delays in other things that have nothing to do with that something, right?
Yeah. I mean,
How does that work? Like the, getting kind of like the wait time things that you're talking, that what is this wait time? What waiting where for what?
I'm waiting at like a vendor to get a load of some good, and
At,
the
at,
other truck,
at like a like a factory or
a
something? Like,
factory or a warehouse, or yeah,
you have an empty truck basically, right?
yeah,
And
empty
your
trailer.
empty trailer, you're told to go somewhere very far away to get something. It doesn't matter what it is. And
Right.
then you find yourself there, and you're on a tight schedule all the time, and you're supposed to have picked things up, and then, but instead you find yourself waiting. Why are
Yeah.
you waiting?
It could be lack of employees. It could be the fact that the goods that I'm picking up aren't there yet from another truck because he got stuck waiting someplace. It could be all sorts of things.
And how long can you be
But
waiting for?
I don't wait more than like 2 to 4 hours, and they'll send me someplace else. But I have spoken to a few owner operators that have gotten stuck in places for 48 hours.
Because they have to pick that up, right? Whatever it is.
Or to get unloaded, they'll have a load on, and you can't just be like, well, forget it. I'm, going to go on to the next one. Like,
Exactly. You have
you
to.
have the load on there. So,
You
yeah.
have to wait for that. That's what the
The,
entire purpose of your job is to bring
right.
it from A to B. So you have
I've
to
heard
just endlessly
stories.
wait there.
Yeah. And you got to wait for a day or two sometimes.
And when that happens, whoever you're taking that to on the receiving end of your delivery needs that to then potentially distribute or to make a product with, if it's a component of a product or if it's an end product, whatever it is. That's how things, like delays beget delays, right?
Oh,
And
yeah.
further delays.
It's a massive domino effect. And like at this point, this isn't the worst that I've ever seen it. I think like COVID was like the worst that I've ever seen, but like this is a lot like broader and across everything. So this is completely different, but it's still a big issue.
And
And
by everything you mean both on the like the kind of manufacturing, like wholesale components and goods, widgets, like
yeah,
part,
I
as
mean,
well as the end product retail.
yeah, yeah. It's just across the board, anything you can imagine like is being affected right now because of this.
And it can only get worse.
Well, we could have a recession and that would fix it. We'd be back to normal.
Yeah, that's our theory, right? The recession will fix. So, but like no, seriously, like it can only get worse, right? There isn't a way for it to get better. You're not going to catch up, even if you were able to hire as many people as possible. The backlogs that currently exist is the best it will be, and can only get further backlogged, right?
Damn, I never really thought about it the way that you phrased that. But
I don't mean to sound like apocalyptic, but
no, yeah, that sounds right to me. But it's not going to be, like shortages of all the things that got worse. It's just gonna suck.
um, but it is going to be as shortages of things are going to get worse, right? Because
Yeah,
that's what this
they'll
means.
still shift capacity around. Yeah, just yeah,
It's so it's gonna get worse. And look, I'm sympathetic for you personally. You're a dear friend, right? But I'm talking about, like, let's say the people who like to never think about truck drivers, and that's the majority of everybody. I'm not saying they're bad people or anything. Just nobody would think about other people's jobs or whatever. But this is going to impact everyone. This is going to impact and this is going to impact you on a personal level. It's going to impact the economy as a whole and everything in between, because what Brad's talking about is a slowdown of the velocity of goods, which probably means short-term inflation, because the goods that do exist are more scarce and they're going to go up in price, as long as demand remains more or less constant. Low growth because you don't have the goods to sell, and so that's kind of a stagflationary sort of environment, that we might potentially be set up for because of the inability to hire truck drivers. I don't have a doom and gloom agenda to like sell. I'm just making an observation. Would you agree with
Yeah.
that?
No, that yeah. I mean, just the only thing I would add is just hire people across the entire supply chain. Like, I mean, that yeah,
But if you did that, right, assuming you have to pay a lot more money for these people, so that's still inflationary, except you'll now get a little bit more motion in the velocity of goods. But there is no fix other than you need like a what's it called, like a Marshall Plan almost, like of truck driving, right? Like to come
yeah.
in
I
full
mean,
force.
I don't. Yeah, I don't. God,
I
just
never
drop like
see you
Marsh.
speechless like this, like because it's rare. Like I've never seen.
I've never seen you be like, well, we're gonna need the Marshall Plan of trucking, and I'm like, that's like, how does that? I'm like, oh my god, let's not
But
do that.
yeah,
Let's not
well,
get there.
but the thing is, this is not unique to you. Is my point? Is that like yes, it is obviously it affects you. It's going to affect everyone. Everyone should be looking like Brad looks right now, like super super stressed out. And I don't mean to stress you out like this, but this is in all of our futures. It seems this is based on what you're telling me. So this is not like
Yeah, I
some of
mean,
the
it's what I'm seeing on the ground. So
yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's
Please keep us up to date with directly what's not only just things that you're observing that are very very relevant to obviously things like you and I, nailing CPI, stuff like
yeah,
that too, but like keep us up to date because from your specific position, your job is going to make or break the immediate to the short term, and then therefore maybe even beyond that too. But certainly, like in the coming, foreseeable till the end of year future, your job itself is going to dictate that. To what degree it's going to impact is why we need you to update us. Like, is there any reset button? Is there anything that would fix it?
I a recession.
That's it, right? I mean,
I
seriously,
mean,
like that's
yeah,
that's what would
I
that's
mean,
a
like I'm
slowdown.
laughing, but yeah, I mean, it's
No,
gonna take an economic slowdown to
we're laughing because we've talked about this before, but
yeah,
it's true. Like
yeah,
because they're
because
like I just thought like I don't know the trucking logistics. So is there a magic fix that maybe I'm not aware of? I'm not as an ignorant person to the trucking industry.
I'm pretty sure with as long as this has been going on for, we've tried every magic fix trick in the book, and we've started back at page one again to just start over and try them all over, just trying to find one that works.
Okay. Um, well, this has been I think enlightening for you.
Yeah, yeah, because I'm sitting over here thinking about like, wonder what lumber prices are doing because I see a lot of lumber going down the road, but there's not a lot of lumber behind the mill. And then I'm like, wonder what like all these other goods are doing, and it's like, oh, there's so many like variables and facets of things with like,
There's an infinite number of variables and facets, like you just said. Um,
yeah,
and any one of those changing can change the whole structure of the variables and facets of things as well. So this really does need to be monitored on a real time basis. This as in the real economy and the data that will come out backwards looking therefore, but like the data that comes out after that. If you want to understand what's happening in the economy to then apply to financial markets or whatever it may be, you need real time data. You need real time observations, not data. Forget data. You need real time observations, right? Like
yeah.
now more than ever, and it's going to be increasingly intensely needed, right? So, um, Brad, you're probably not going to be too busy going forward. I think that there's
I got all sorts of free time.
a lot of free time in the trucking industry I hear these days. Um, But yeah, just we're counting on you to like even if all you did was just update us on what the state of the hiring situation is like in your industry, that can really sure, but certainly give us a leg up on so-called consensus, whatever the hell they're looking at. But this is a serious thing that's not being discussed and certainly not being priced in. But this is kind of the source of the bottleneck or not bottleneck of the entire flow of the economy. And it affects overseas too, right? Like, to into the US, and
Oh
then,
yeah, I mean
so it's global. It's totally
yeah,
global.
this is not a U.S. supply chain issue. It's a global supply chain issue that there are. Yeah, it's everywhere.
If US truck drivers do not get hired, it can impact you globally. It can
Oh yeah,
impact you in Hong Kong and Tokyo and Sydney and in Berlin and Frankfurt and in London and everywhere else too, right? So, because like I said, slowdowns and delays cause delays, and God forbid you guys quit, let alone, and if it just maintains, things are gonna get worse. so,
yeah.
so this isn't like a trending flat thing. This is on a natural, things will get like increasingly more constrained thing with no change in labor supply at all from the trucking end. So, um, good luck, man. That's all I can say. Is good luck and thank you is all I can say.
Yeah.
And
After season two, like episode one, I feel like I'm gonna need more than luck now. This was hard.
like essential workers is such a kind of
I
a
hate that. Yeah, that's just a
it's
crap term.
it's yeah, I hate the term too, like because what that implies is that what like they're now essential. No, they've always been essential. Of course they're essential, but in the absence of them is in this is the same as anything, right? In the absence of whatever good or service or item, that's when we realize how much we have taken for granted whatever that was. And we're about to find out just how essential the American truck driver is to the global economy. If that's any consolation for you, I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe people will be a little nicer to us on the roads.
I seriously doubt that,
Probably
but
not.
I hope that's the
Yeah.
case. But I
At
have
least if you have kids, teach your kids how to do the like trucker air horn fist pump because like
is that
that
yeah,
just
is that
makes my day.
really is that a good
Oh,
thing?
it's like the greatest thing ever.
I used to do that, right? I
Yeah,
used to like sit in the back of like my friend's parents. My friend's mom had a station wagon, but I
yeah.
was told by many people, and then I started thinking about it too, like that maybe it's kind of like an insulting thing to like.
Like everybody I've ever talked to is like that's the greatest. Like that makes your day. Like you could be having the shittiest day ever, and some like tiny little kid smashes his face against a glass, and he's just and I'm like, you win. You win today. Like we're good. Life is good.
Let me ask you this: do you use that horn for any other purpose?
No.
So are those being installed for that purpose then?
I mean, maybe.
Thank you, Bradley. Till next time.
See you guys.